Here at Wyopreps.com, we're not necessarily doing game of the week for the playoffs, but we're doing some spotlights on certain games. And one of the big matchups takes us to Class 4A this week. And of course, all these games are rematches, but this is a good one as Campbell County will be hosting the Chinese Thunderbirds and joined by Campbell County head coach Orah Garst. And Orah, thanks again for taking a few minutes. But you didn't see this team that long ago. It was a barn burner where you guys had to come back in the fourth quarter, I think down 12, and then rallied for a 29-26 win. I guess first of all, take me back to last week. How do you feel like you guys are playing coming off that first round quarterfinal win last week in the playoffs?
Yeah, David, thanks for having me. I'm super pleased with where we're at as a team. Finally put a complete game together. Been waiting. It only took 10 weeks, huh? But lowest penalty yardage, held the number two rushing attack to 60 rushing yards. I think four takeaways, 38 points. Got all of our kids, including some of our freshmen at the end, and still held the shutout. So finally played the complete game that we've been looking for. So only took a few weeks. So
Well, and I know you're probably nitpicking just like every coach does, but how do you kind of keep that momentum going, do you think, rolling into the semifinals?
yeah, I think just having a great week of practice, which the guys have, I'm super excited. They're completely locked in on every goal that we have before us. And so I think just to carry on that momentum, you gotta earn it in practice first, and then that's the game's just a byproduct of the work you put in Monday through Thursday. So
All right. As I mentioned earlier, this is a rematch, just like every 4A game is, and you didn't see East that long ago. What do you take away from the victory in the regular season, if anything, and maybe a few things that you remember about the Thunderbirds?
yeah, you just kind of take away the key matchups in that game, and just they're gonna want to run the football. So we're gonna have to put a lot of focus on that. But what I take away is they're gonna bring the intensity. So we're gonna have to match that whenever a team loses like the way they did, and that's no disrespect, more of a compliment to them. Like they had us, like they were up 12 points in the fourth, and so in the way that they lost, we're gonna have to be ready for their intensity. They're gonna come out swinging, they're gonna come out angry, and I don't blame them. So we would be the same way.
What type of adjustments have you been chatting about? And I'm not asking for any sort of game plan giveaway here, but
Yeah.
what do you think's got to adjust so that maybe you don't put yourself down by 12 in the fourth quarter?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, I'm not going to talk about too much schematically, but just more of just the mindset. Like we got to stay locked in. We went in at halftime and we were like thinking like we had won the game. That's still just changing the culture around here. I know it's still year two and just changing the culture of like, hey, we got to lock in every play. You can't take the third quarter off. And then, I mean, you take away the third quarter. I mean, it's a much different game the first, second, and fourth quarter. So we got to stay locked in all game. We can't get lax at any point of the game.
Any personnel that concerns you out of Cheyenne East?
Yeah, everywhere. Their secondary was fantastic. Their defensive line, offensive line, truly, I love their QB. I know he didn't have the best game against us, but I still think he's a stud. And I mean, you can't not talk about their run game. I mean, it's phenomenal. I also give credit to their coaching staff. I mean, they're going to come out and goal line. At least they did against us and heavy personnel. 32 personnel, three tight ends, two backs, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever it was, 23, whatever it was. And they're going to smack you in the mouth and run downhill and see if you can stop it. So, yeah, just all around, they're so well coached and talent everywhere that it's going to be a challenge for us for sure.
Now I got to ask you this question, Aura, because you guys haven't been in this spot. Unlike a Natrona or a Sheridan or this Chinese team that have kind of been through these big time games, it's been a little bit since the Camels have been in that spot. So, how do you go about keeping your guys sharp, as you said, with your mental focus, but not letting the pressure get to them too much?
Yeah, it just goes all back to the culture that the staff and I are trying to create of it's just one game at a time. Not one game is bigger than the other. Don't let even though they're kids and they're gonna naturally think that this game is bigger than the rest, it truly isn't. It's the culture we're trying to create that it's one game at a time, 1-0 mindset. Um, and no game is bigger than the rest, and it's all about consistent preparation so that their routine doesn't make it feel like it's any bigger of a game. So nameless, faceless opponent, and it's all about us, and we'll see if we can um, limit our takeaways, limit our lack of focus, and just focus on what we can control and just go have fun. I try and dispel the big games with the reality of the moment. This is not a bear in the woods like fight or flight. That's a different form of anxiety. This is excitement. Even though it might feel like anxiety, this is exciting. We get to play with each other. We don't know. We're not promised tomorrow, so we might have one last game with each other. So we're just trying to enjoy it. And I love this. I love this team. I love this group of seniors. And so if this is our last game, good Lord, hopefully it's not, but if it is, we're just going to go out there and enjoy it. And hopefully that dispels that anxiety that can come with big games when you let the kids get in the moment and get nervous. So it's nothing to be anxious about. We played them 2 weeks ago. We just got to stay locked in and play Camels football.
Orah, thanks so much for the time. I wish you best of luck at home Friday night, man.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you all year, man. We'll talk soon.
We continue talking about one of our spotlighted playoff games. I'm not calling them games of the week, just try to spotlight some great matchups in the semifinals. One of those happens to be up in Gillette on Friday. Chinese traveling to Campbell County, and Chad Goff, the head coach of the Thunderbirds, joins me. And we'll talk about the first meeting in just a moment, Chad. But how do you feel about your team here coming off a shutout in the first round of the playoffs last week?
Feel good. Things were coming together at the right time, and played a pretty complete game last week. I thought offensively could have been a little bit better, but that's how all three phases have to work together. One picks up the other, and I thought we did that well the other night.
What did you take away from the first game against the Camels?
They everything we thought. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball. They're big. Their defense is stout. And so they're a good football club, no doubt about it.
So, what type of things are you kind of stressing in terms of adjustments? And obviously, I'm not trying to dive in for details here, but what are you really emphasizing this week to adjust for game two in this matchup with a lot at stake?
Assignment football. You got to play assignment football a little bit better than we did that first time, and it was a great football game, no doubt about it. And I'm sure they watch that film and break it down and see things that their kids didn't do right. And we watch that film and we see things that our kids didn't do right. And so for us, it's a lot about the assignment and making sure you accomplish the assignment.
How do you go about getting your ground game going against a pretty solid defensive front there for the Camels, do you think?
Same we just talked about on defense. Assignment. You've got to make sure that you're communicating up front, making sure that the guys up front are talking to each other a little bit and who they got to double and who they got to come off on, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot of that this week.
And then lastly for me real quick is you guys have been in this spot and been successful the last couple of years, getting to a championship game. How beneficial is that for you and the guys in the program, just kind of knowing that expectation and what it does take to win a big game like this?
I think it's big, when you have kids that have that were on this field, practicing for this week last year and the year before and the year before. And we've had good kids and they see the guys ahead of them, above them doing good things. And they see how much heart they put into practice and into those games. And so that's huge to have the kids that left leave those imprints on these kids.
Well, Chad, thanks so much for the time. Wish you best of luck in Gillette Friday night.
All right. Thank you.